Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 3 of Just One More Podcast. I am Jeff, joined by John the Gamer, and unfortunately, I haven't been able to play a whole lot of games in the last week, but gonna rely much more heavily on you, John, to be able to get us started here. So, what have you been up to?
I, on the other hand, have just been racking up the hours. Uh, let's see. I think since the last time we talked, I have continued playing basically the same games: Asura's Wrath and Tunic. Asura's Wrath, after the first episode or before the first episode, I had beaten the game and I was going into the DLC. By the time we recorded the second episode last week, I had finished all the DLC and started replaying it for achievement purposes. To get all the achievements, you have to play through the game quite a number of times. I have finished my fourth and final playthrough of it. So, that's kind of a lot.
So, are you done with it now? Are you like you've seen the final
Not
achievement pop and
quite.
you're done?
So I've done 4 full playthroughs.
Oh,
At this point, all that's left is just some cleanup. At the end of each mission, you're graded. If I get an S rank on all missions on normal, I'll be done with the game. I've already done it on hard. I've done it for the DLC missions, and then, like I said, all I have left is normal. Through the course of normal play, the game's not super difficult, so I actually had S rank on a lot of them. I think there's 18 missions in the game. I have like 6 left. So I have maybe one more, like 1 hour, 1.5 hour session left with Asura's Wrath, and I'll be done with the game for good.
gotcha. So, for the most part, like I would imagine that, I mean, going through it 4 times, like how do you have like a ranking of just like was Asura's Wrath better than what you thought it was going to be going into it,
Uh,
or was it just kind of what you
I'd say it's
expected?
better than what I thought, honestly. This game came out in 2012, I think, maybe early 2013. It's early 2012 or early 2013. I think 2012. And I played the demo back then, and I really got a kick out of the demo. The demo for the game was great. Really sold some cool parts of the game, but playing it, it's even better than I thought. The DLC especially. DLC capped off the game in just grandiose fashion, which was a little bit controversial at the time because the game's true ending, you beat the game, and then all of a sudden you unlock another version of that last mission, what they call True Chapter 18,
Yeah.
and then it has a kind of a postscript on the ending, but it's a cliffhanger style ending. And I think what CyberConnect was wanting to do, or CyberConnect or Namco Bandai was wanting to do, was make a sequel to the game that kind of fleshed out even further, but I guess sales or the game did not meet their estimates for sales, and so it basically got shoveled into that DLC. But the DLC is just fantastic, over the top. I mean, as I've been replaying it, the game, and again, it's a testament to what I think of the game, the fact that I've replayed it another 3 times beyond completing it.
Yeah, like it's got to be decent if you're going to be
Yeah,
playing
and
it
the thing
multiple
that's helped,
times.
I mean, really the only reason that's maybe do it to this extent, normally I'll just play through a game once and be content with what I've done and maybe go back and do a little bit of achievement or trophy cleanup, but, playing through it again 3 more times is a little absurd. But in the game's favor, whenever you're just skipping all the cutscenes, of which this game is mostly, it's like a hour and a half, 2 hours. You can beat the game. You could beat the game in one session if you're just skipping everything, but you can beat it in 2 comfortably.
Well, it's always been a game that I've been interested in, um, like just because it just screams over the top, and like it was during that era where you know some of the bigger companies were still taking risks on like putting money
Hmm.
behind new IP.
Yeah, and I mean,
Um,
and this, like,
so it
over
was,
the top. This is just like Dragon Ball Z multiplied. Like there are so many times
yeah,
as I've been
yeah,
replaying the missions where there are some like unskippable cutscenes or whatnot, And there's so many times, or like the grandiose boss battles in the DLC, where I just like think to myself, okay, next time Jeff and I hang out, I have to make him watch this. Like if he's not going to play this game, which you absolutely should,
I mean,
I at least have to make you watch some of these boss fights or just these sequences, because it is just insane.
well, I mean that's definitely. I mean it. I'm surprised, and I don't know if they did this or not, but the game screams that anime. Like this is
Oh
an
yeah, I mean
anime,
the
and
story is
I
structured
don't.
that way. Like each mission is like an episode. A lot of them have like or generally at the end of an episode, it kind of has a here's what's coming up next on Asura's Wrath type thing, and each mission is divided in two parts,
Yeah,
and it basically like it goes to commercial break with an anime screen, just like a screenshot, a freeze frame of something that happened, just like what you'd see on TV.
yeah, and like I said, I don't know if they did, but I feel like it would fit like creating an actual anime to go along with the game, or continue on the story, or maybe just build something completely new. Um, but yeah, like that was definitely one thing. Like, uh, just the insanity of what I saw, because I remember playing the demo too, and I think it was I think the demo was pretty much the beginning of the game where you're
Uh,
like in space going down to the planet or
no.
something,
So the demo
or
is like two missions from about the middle of the game, and they're two super cool missions. I mean,
okay.
they did a great job selling the game, because I remember back whenever I played it, I even like looked back on my brain on games where I wrote about it, and like, oh, I really loved it. I really enjoyed it. I think there was maybe some nitpicks I had about it, but it's fantastic. I mean, it's awesome, and on it seems like I'd be interested to look at like the pedigree of some of the people behind it, specifically like the people behind the cutscenes, because the cinematography and so much of it,
Yeah.
like so many of the shots, like there are so many shots where I'm just like giggling to myself of how cool it is. Like it's like Dragon Ball Z cool. It's awesome.
The just the your inner child is just like, this is so awesome. This reminds me of just like
Yeah,
Saturday
just like
morning, or
this super
just
powered like human being just crash lands from space
yeah, and all the
onto
rage.
Earth, and it's this cool shot, and he just lands in such a cool way.
Um, well, for me, like I definitely need to put that on uh, my growing list of games that I need
Yeah,
to need to
you need
play.
to put it up at the top, because it's
Um,
only like you don't have to do what I did. You don't have to play through it 4 times. If you only if you only play
yeah,
through it once,
well,
you'll still have as good a time. And a playthrough's like 8 hours. That's quick. You can do that in like 3 sessions.
well,
You can play. You can beat this game in
that's
half a week and move on.
well, I did do that with Miles Morales. I think in the first episode, maybe the second episode that hasn't aired yet, but it's gonna get there. The second episode's on its way.
Well,
Don't worry,
and
people.
I mean,
All of the
if they're
no one
listening to
listening,
this, they've heard the second
but
episode. You don't even got to call. You don't even got to point out to that fact.
yeah, well, yeah, that's this. I'll leave this part in so that people can just be able to bask in the realness of this podcast versus other podcasts out there that talk about video games. Um, but I did beat Miles Morales. Got to the end credits. Did as much as I could in that first uh, playthrough before diving into a new game plus. I haven't done that just yet because I just cleaned up a couple more trophies before getting into the new game plus. But um, I think I've got three three main trophies left to get, and then obviously a fourth trophy with the platinum trophy. Um, so I have to beat the game in New Game Plus mode. I need to get 100 time combo going, or 100 hit combo going, and have to purchase all skills, which Three of the skills are locked behind. You have to play the game in New Game Plus mode to get access to three more skills, which will then max out the skill trees for Venom, normal combat, and stealth. So for the most part, I'm like right there. And when I get into New Game Plus mode, I'll probably tone down the difficulty to make it easier to get that 100 hit combo because with the way it's set up, there's just I played on the like normal difficulty, which has a decent amount of enemies, but as you get later in the game where you start getting more and more enemies, a lot of them have guns, making it harder to dodge enough to because if you get hit, the combo
Sure. Do you remember
breaks.
what your highest combo was on normal difficulty?
The highest I was able to get was like I think it
All
was
right, so you're like
70.
3/4 of the way there.
Yeah, so I figure toning down the difficulty will make it easier to get that 100 hit combo because I like when I hit 50 and then I hit 60 and then as I approached 70 I was like I'm gonna do it and I just let up and got shot and I was like no, I don't. And then from there on out, it was largely like I could get back into like the 30s and 40s fairly consistently, but just as you get later in the game, so many more enemies start coming out that have various ways to mess with your dodge or block your hits and stuff. And if they're blocking your hit, it doesn't count towards your
Yeah, there's
hit counter.
probably, I mean, with it being,
Or
100 hit combo, the best you did during normal gameplay was 3/4 of the way. I bet there's probably like a place where you can go do that. Kind of like, hey, here's the best place to do
yeah,
that, or to kind of get weak hits in on enemies to build that combo.
yeah, and so for the most part, like it's definitely I enjoyed playing the game. It was like Miles Morales is it's a good continuation of what they did with the first Spider-Man game. They added the Venom powers into it, which is more just electricity based stuff, which I don't fully know how that ties into Venom. I don't know if they just like named it Venom or they don't really, at least I don't remember them really explaining why they call it
So
Venom
it's not like
powers.
Venom, the Spider-Man
Um,
character.
no,
Well, that's even
it's
more confusing.
essentially yeah, yeah, he got bit by a radioactive spider just like
Just
OG
like Peter
Spider-Man
Parker.
did. Um, yeah, but instead of just having like the abilities and skill set that Peter Parker has, he's got some of that and heavier hitting stuff using the Venom powers. Like he's got a Venom punch, which is just an electrified punch to get through some of the bigger enemies or the enemies that have like more defenses, like shields or um, like there's Roxxon enemies that are part of a corporation that are trying to power the future with a renewable energy source, but the renewable energy source is detrimental to the environment, or not the environment. It's detrimental to people. Um, it's apparently a
Yeah, can't win them
cancerous
all.
thing. Um, yeah, that's you can't please everybody. But essentially some of the enemies have suits that counteract or they're not as easily affected by the venom uh, skills and attacks. But he's got a venom punch, so electrified punch. He has a venom dash, which is essentially he like charges up in like an energy burst and jumps at an enemy, and then like as you develop the skills and stuff, you can then add like essentially he'll dash, jump on an enemy, and then you can throw the enemy uh, to kind of like combo them into other skills. And then there's like a venom jump, which if you're on the ground, then he like electrifies himself and jumps up into the air, and any enemies that are near him get thrown into the air as well. So it's still so much fun with like the acrobatic stuff, and the Venom powers are a good addition to the existing gameplay that was already there with the first
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, at
Spider-Man
the end of the
game.
day, he's still a
Um,
Spider-Man. He's going to have that some same sort of acrobatic style.
yeah, and one thing like so in the first Spider-Man game, there was a trophy for getting to the top of the Avengers Tower, and with Miles Morales, like despite the fact that like I played the remastered version of Spider-Man because I got the launch edition of Miles Morales for the PS5, so it came with both. Well, in Spider-Man Remastered and the first Spider-Man, there is a trophy for getting to the top of the Avengers Tower, and it is in Remastered. It looks gorgeous. Like it is a just an incredible, just beautiful looking game. Um, but because of that, there's a lot of like my body's still reacting like as I'm swinging around and I'm up in the sky and I'm up with the skyscrapers and I'm jumping off of buildings and stuff like my body still kind of reacts as if I'm actually doing that. So like that sense of like that adrenaline rush, the kind of the vertigo of things, the um well, as I played Spider-Man Remastered, I got more used to it. I got accustomed to it. Like the longer I played, the less it affected me, the less adrenaline rushes, the less like um that never went away in Miles Morales.
Why do you think that
Um
is?
I played I don't know if it's just because the game looks better because it's more designed for a PS5 and not a PS4. Um I don't really know, but like I didn't look at the trophy list. I just assumed that there was going to be something similar to the get to the top of the Avengers Tower. I looked through some of the things, but didn't go through the full trophy list. So I get to the Avengers Tower. I go all the way to the top, and there's no trophy. There's no trophy that pops. So I'm on top of the very, very top of the Avengers Tower, and I'm looking around, and I'm just like, wow, the city looks even better than it does in remastered. And I was just like, I jump off the tower because that's the only way down. Like I got up there by climbing up there, I got to jump off to get off the top of the tower. So I jump off, and of course that adrenaline rush and the just the sense of just that intensity is happening, and like my hands are getting kind of clammy and stuff, and I'm like, oh, this is, but I, even though I played for about 10 hours, that feeling never went away. I never got used to it. Every single time I got to like the super top of a building and was just like jumping over a building to go to keep swinging and stuff, like that sense of adrenaline and vertigo and just drive just never went away. Um, and like I said, I don't know if it's just because the game looks a little bit better than remastered does, but like there were there were parts where it's just like, okay, take a breath and jump. Um, just kind of like having to psych myself up or just kind of prepare myself or brace myself for the sense of like you're going to be falling and it's going to seem like you are actually doing it. And um, I don't know if you get that way with certain games or not, but like it's weird. Like I got used to it in Spider-Man Remastered to the point that it just never really phased me after like an hour or two of playing the game. Like I just got more accustomed to it. But in Miles Morales, that just never it just never happened. I every single time, if I got to a certain height, my
Wow.
reactions were the same.
Yeah, the only time
Uh,
that's ever really happened for me was in the Far Cry games. I think Far Cry 3 and Far Cry 4, those were the first times climbing the towers and looking down. It had to do something with like the field of
oh yeah,
view they had, or maybe just like the sounds in the background, the auditory experience of it all. That was the first time where I really got like some vertigo in a game, where I like looked down and kind of like got a little pit in my stomach, like I was looking down at the lower level of the mall while being on the
Yeah,
second floor. It's like, ugh.
yeah, yeah, and it's just like that it's a surreal experience because like even though because I kept like just mentally I'm like it's a game, it's a game, it's a game. Like I'm not actually doing this. This is a game. But for some reason my reactions were the same, and like I kept thinking, well, if I keep doing it, it I will eventually get used to it. So like if I was near the Avengers Tower or if I was near Freedom Tower, like I would climb all the way to the top. I would get all the way to the top and I would jump off and every single time. Every It was the same thing. Whereas in Spider-Man Remastered, that like it I don't know if bored is the right word for it, but I just got used to it. So it was a just an added layer of the game for of Miles Morales of just like I just didn't get used
How
to
long
it.
did you play the first
Um,
Spider-Man for?
the first Spider-Man I played, I probably put 20 or so hours into it to do everything. So far with Miles Morales, it's probably going to cap out around, well, if I can do the 100 hit combo thing, it's probably going to cap out around 11 or 12 hours of playing. So not a whole lot of difference in playtime, but I don't know because like I said with the first Spider-Man, it like an hour or two into it, and I was set. Like there was no I got over
Yeah.
that feeling.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. Like, did
So
you like you feel it for like 6 hours in this one and then 6 hours in the other one? But no, if you had lost that sensation after a couple hours, then yeah. Have you dove back into
yeah.
your second playthrough from Miles Morales yet?
I am
Uh,
about to. I've cleaned up as much as I could through the first playthrough. Um, After you beat the game, it unlocks two additional side missions, and those two side missions have about two or three trophies that are attached to those. Um, so I did those, and then I can go in with New Game Plus and hopefully within maybe 30 minutes, maybe an hour, uh, mop up the last remaining
all
trophies
right.
of that.
What are you gonna jump
Um,
into after that's done? You
so
have anything lined up yet, or have you been playing anything besides Miles Morales?
I have not. I've got some stuff that I've got like lined up. Like I really want to get back into Eiyuden Chronicles
Oh yeah,
Rising,
yeah. You got to
get
slog
get
through
that
that.
get that mopped up. Yeah. Um, and I'll probably do the streaming thing with that as well. Try to get back into finishing the story of that one, just so that there's a cohesive uh, story thing on Twitch and YouTube for that. Uh, a beginning and an end for the story of that one, even though there's not
Yeah,
much of a story.
people are waiting.
But
People are clamoring.
yeah, that's and then after that, like how long did it take you to do everything in Rising? Because I know you beat that a
Yeah.
while back.
Um, I don't know. I want to say like 20 hours or something. I don't remember it being a very long game. And then after that, like all the cleanup to get all the achievements, trophies wasn't too much more.
That's I went to the Kickstarter for Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes because they just posted it as of us recording this. They had just posted the July update, and they showed like an 8 second snippet of the main character running up this like tower thing. Um, for the most part, like
Yeah, so I beat
they're
it in
apparently
14 and a half hours, and I got 100% of it. It got all the achievements and trophies in 20.
Um, well, one thing that I noticed on the Kickstarter, apparently there was a lot of people, which I don't know how legitimate it was, but apparently there was a lot of people who got confused about whether Eiyuden Chronicle Rising was 100
Yeah. I
heroes.
mean, I remember whenever it
And
came out,
so,
and I I I know there was confusion on that. I know there's a lot of confusion on, hey, did I get this extra game? I thought I got it, or hey, my code hasn't arrived
yeah,
yet.
where's my
Yeah, I mean,
free code?
whenever it came out, I mean, it
Um,
kind of took me by surprise because I backed it. And I'd been looking at the Kickstarter emails, but not really paying too much attention because I knew the main game's still a ways off. I knew this game was coming. I just didn't realize it was basically out until the week it came out. I was like, there's that. And I think I just assumed, oh well, I think I remember
yeah,
paying for that extra game, so I'll just wait for the redemption code to come in my email. And then after the game launched and it never did, it's like, well, let me go back and look. It's like, oh, no, I did not pay for that. It's like, okay.
yeah. I remember the Rising was one of the stretch goals, which I think that's probably where a good portion of people got confused. That essentially, like, the stretch goal was if we reach this dollar amount in the campaign, then we will do this
Which will
companion
be an
game, which
option
became
for
Rising.
everyone. It doesn't mean you're getting it, it's going to be an
Yeah,
option for you.
and essentially for backers of the game, essentially you could get the companion game for like $7 as like an add-on to your overall order or pledge
Yeah,
on
basically half the
Kickstarter. So
price of what
like,
the MSRP was going to be.
yeah, and so I, for the most part, like there's like I can kind of understand the confusion, but one thing that I noticed in like the comments of the most recent update is that there's a good handful of people that are like, well, based on the quality of Eiyuden Chronicle Rising, I'm no longer as excited for 100 Heroes because Rising is fairly
Sure.
trash.
I mean, you gotta take it with a grain of
And
salt and understand, well, this is not developed by the same developers. This is, uh, you know,
yeah, like
separate product.
and 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 this was just kind of I mean, like it's a full-fledged game. Like you can put it is not the game that will be coming out next year or
No, well,
hopefully
let's
next
hope
year,
not.
but
I mean, sure,
yeah, like
you can be worried or you can, be a little trepidatious about it after this because even I think after a couple hours playing the game, like I'd have conversations with you and just say, "Hey, it's fine, it's enjoyable. I don't think it's good, but it's fun."
yeah, well, and like I think you and I have had this conversation where it's like I don't really know, at least from my perspective, I don't really know what Rising is kind of building up to. Like I know
I
like during the campaign they talked about that the companion game was going to be you're going to be rebuilding a village and that village is going to be carried over into 100 heroes,
I
but I don't
I don't
really
think you should
know
go in with
quite.
that expectation that's building up to something because it kind of doesn't. I mean, I think
Yeah,
more than anything, this is just
yeah,
setting the stage for like, here's what this world is like. Let's get you familiar with the way
here's a
it
couple of the
works. Let's get you
characters.
familiar with the stuff that happens. That way, whenever you go into the main
Yeah,
game, maybe we don't have to tutorialize all this stuff or we don't have to like spell out everything. I'm sure they still will, but
like
for those people who have played this game, they'll
yeah,
at least have some of that background information, that background knowledge.
yeah, and like I going into the game, I kept my expectations pretty low. Like I wasn't really looking forward to Rising. Like I'm looking forward to Eiyuden Chronicle. Like I am a huge fan of Suikoden, as you know. Um, and so like I've been wanting for so long, and I've hunted for games that replicated that experience that Suikoden did. The massive cast of characters, providing so many different options of how to build your team, how you want to shape your play style. I love the concept of recruiting people and seeing things change with your home base, your castle, your ship, whatever game in Suikoden that you're playing. like just all of that fascinated me so much. And like with the first two games, like you could really, if you were steadfast in your decisions, you can make those decisions, and the game would go along with it. Uh, there's so many games that kind of give you that sense of, well, you can make choices, but they don't really
Yeah, I mean,
do
I
anything.
disagree with you on
Like,
that
yeah,
front.
you made your
I don't think there's any really consequential decisions you're making in Suikoden that have a real like
well,
main
I
impact on
mean,
the
like
storyline.
in the sense of like, depending on how you approach any like wartime battle or something, like characters can die. Like the um, whenever like the faction,
Yeah,
the
yeah, like the
army
army
versus
battle,
army
that stuff, they
stuff,
can
like,
die, but I mean, you're not making a decision that's leading to that. You're just playing poorly, or you didn't prepare.
well, yeah, but at the same point, like,
And
I
also you
remember
can't
like with the
lose main story characters, which would then impact the story. Like anyone who's going to have some sort of impact on the linear storyline is going to survive regardless. It's just instead of seeing like the
yeah,
dying motion, it's going to be game over, or hey, I'm just returning to the base.
I mean, except if it's like Gremio from the first game, or
Now, but doesn't
crap,
but
I'm drawing a
doesn't
blank
Grimio
on the name from
die
two.
regardless? Like just as part of the
I
story?
mean, you can get him back. Like there is a way of getting him back,
Yeah, but again, you're not really making a decision
but
that's impacting the flow of the story. You're not like changing something.
yeah, I suppose. But like the just there's just trying to replicate or trying to find that like massive cast of characters, being able to see your home base develop and change and grow as you recruit people. There's not a whole lot of games that replicate that, and still have a decent length of story that you know, does the whole world building thing, and makes you wonder, well, what's happening on the other side of these mountains? Well, what's happening on this other side of this river? Um, you
Yeah,
know,
well, Eiyuden Chronicles
and
Rising is definitely not that game.
yeah, it is definitely not, and like that's the thing, is like I went into the game knowing that it was not going to be that. Um, and I don't know if it's like part of that confusion with just the rollout of Rising, that because it's a companion game, it's not the actual full
Yeah,
game, but like
and
just
at
kind
the
of
same
seeing.
time, is like people arguing over the internet or like sending death threats to developers and stuff like that. It's like, are we talking about 12-year-olds who didn't understand what this was going to be, or are we talking about like mature people? Like,
Well, and I mean, there's plenty of like adult man
sure,
children out there too that just seem to
just
just completely have their expectations out of
yeah.
whack.
So Miles
But
Morales, Eiyuden
so
Chronicles on your list. Which Eiyuden Chronicles, you're probably like
yeah,
what, halfway through or something already. You played that a number of hours,
I think so.
so you gotta.
Yeah, like I had yeah, I had played a pretty good amount, and then as I have explained before, like just started having all kinds of just like coughing, and my throat just having issues. Nothing turned out to be COVID, so
Yeah, so you
that
got
was good.
short playthroughs
But
of Miles coming up, perhaps a short playthrough of Aiden. Anything more
yeah,
substantial? You're going to tackle some more short stuff in the meantime.
I definitely need to wrap up Triangle Strategy. That is a really good game that has some execution issues, but it's a really good game, and I'm super close. I think I have just a couple chapters left
So you
to
just got
wrap
a lot
that
of
up.
games to finish,
Um, yeah,
mopping up.
and that's pretty much where I'm at. Um, but yeah, so Triangle Strategy is definitely next up. For the most part, like I don't, outside of like Star Ocean, the Divine Force, maybe
Oh yeah,
Live Alive.
yeah. I forgot
Uh,
that that was coming out so
I
soon, and then it came out, and it's like, oh shoot, that's out now.
Yeah, and apparently people are loving it. Like I've seen so many people that are talking pretty
Mm-hmm.
highly of it.
Like, hey, this
Um,
we wish this would have come out here years and years ago. It's like, hey, all those people who were doing fan translations, they were right. This is a killer game.
Well, and one thing that is on the latest, as of this recording, the latest episode of Game Revision, episode 31, we briefly talk a little bit about Xenoblade Chronicles 3.
I got my copy in the mail Saturday.
Speaking of games that has a surprisingly good sized fan base, like
and I've
the fact that
I've seen a number of people online talking about the first couple hours of that game, selling them on it, kind of in a more positive way than a lot of JRPGs generally do.
Yeah, and one thing that's talked about on Gamer Vision is just the fact that Xenoblade Chronicles has become a tentpole release for Nintendo. Going from,
I mean, I think if you look at
not going to see itself outside of Japan.
If you look at just like the critics' reception of it, I think it is the highest rated Switch game of the year so far.
Yeah, like it's been bouncing between 89 and 90 since release, or since the embargo's lifted on the reviews. So like, going from a game that nobody really wanted to bring outside of Japan to being a game that crashes Nintendo's online stores when so many people are rushing to get the special edition, just a really good year for RPG fans. Like this, no matter what type of RPG you like, there is something this year that is for you. Whether it's classic JRPG style stuff like Live Alive, whether it's more actiony stuff like Star Ocean Divine Force. If you love collecting and monsters to fight each other, you got Pokemon. You got two different versions of Pokemon from Legends Arceus and Scarlet and Violet, and then just the Elden Ring, which we've talked into the ground, I think, at this point. But so as far as for like Eiyuden Chronicle Rising, I need to wrap that up. Triangle Strategy, I need to wrap that up, and that's probably going to be after finishing up with Rising. So probably going to be talking about both of those games over the next episode or two. But what's in your docket for games that are on the horizon?
Well, like I said, Asura's Wrath, I probably have one, maybe two more sessions left with that. If depending on what time we finish, I may go grab a bite to eat and then just plow away at that and just say, hey, I want to be done with this. Let's get it back and get it back on the shelf.
Let's get it done.
Other than that, the main thing I've been playing has been Tunic, and kind of continuing on from last week's talk about it, where it's just kind of a mind-blowing game.
Such a good game.
It continues to unravel itself like the layers of an onion, like
in a good way.
Like the things I have discovered by getting these manual pages, again, just like mind-blowing. Like, oh, I literally have to return everywhere because I just made this crucial connection about something.
Yeah.
Like, oh, wait a minute, what's this other save file that just appeared? Like a save file just appears in your game. Like, well, what's up with this? If Elden Ring, I don't really want to. It's hard to think about. Well, this is the best game I played. This is the second best game I played. I think Elden Ring, it's pretty much a guaranteed lock of just being my favorite game I played all year. And if that game is a lock, I think Tunic is a strong second. Like I'm continually blown away by it. There's just incredible secrets in this game, and so far I have refrained from using a guide. I think there was just like one puzzle where I knew what to do, and I just couldn't put it together, and so I looked at a guide to see what to see what the pattern I needed to do was. I mean, there was one point where I actually broke out a notebook. I love I take notes for the game. So I mean, I've got massive notes with this game since it requires notes in a sense. But I actually broke out a physical notepad to draw out a puzzle to try and piece it together. And I know there's at least one more puzzle I'm going to have to do that with, where I may even have to cut out like little puzzle pieces to put this thing together to try and figure out the pattern I need to input. Like, again, this game is just remarkable.
And it's like the lifeblood of creativity comes from indie games now.
Yeah.
Like
this.
the
Fascinating.
like all of these big companies out there, they've got the money, they've got the resources, they could totally be doing games like Tunic, but they just don't want to take that risk because if it doesn't pan out, then they just wasted money on it, or they see that they wasted money on it.
Well, I mean, they're going to continue making the games that made them big, that continue to sell well.
Yeah. So it's nice, like across the board, when you see indie developers getting a platform to get their stuff out there, and Tunic is definitely. I can well, I think I would well. Tunic released earlier this year, I think, like a new release earlier
Correct,
this
yeah.
year, right? Okay, so there might be a little bit of competition on the indie front for game of the year for like indie developers, because I've heard a lot of good stuff about Stray as well. I haven't played it, but apparently people are just enamored with Stray as well, because it's another just
Yeah.
creative adventure game where you play as a
Yeah.
cat.
I mean, I think the
running
big thing
through
with
a
that one was,
post-apocalyptic
hey,
world.
there's a cat. And so then that got so much just
Yeah,
general
yeah.
news press. Like, last week it was just blowing up on Facebook because like CNN ran a story. Now, like even one of our local news stations ran a story on it, quoting that CNN article. So I mean, you make it. I think I saw somebody tweet out like Stray tells us one thing about people. We all just want to interact with like one little dude. Whether it's like a can you pet the dog Twitter account, or hey, I'm playing as a cat. It's like, hey, you've got a hook.
Yeah. But it's one of those things where there's like I said, the creative juices that come from the indie developer scene is nice to you've got these really clever, really creative independent games like Tunic and Stray, and then you've got the huge multi-million-dollar like AAA releases like the upcoming God of War Ragnarok and Elden Ring and Xenoblade Chronicles 3, like things that had a big budget going into them. So like again, 2022 has just been an amazing year, and especially for RPG gamers, and also having like these little sprinkles of really awesome like independent games coming out. Like Sifu was another one that came out earlier this year, like a week or two before Elden Ring. So like really good representation just kind of across the board for so many things. But like I want to try out Stray just because everyone's talking about it. Like everybody is just going gaga over it. But do you see yourself diving into Xenoblade Chronicles 3 anytime soon, or is that like a fairly like further away
Yeah,
goal?
I don't know. Tunic, I've got like one more. I'd have one more session if I want to just go beat the game, but there's still a lot of secrets to unravel, so I don't know how much longer I'll play it. And then I'm going to be out of town next week, so I won't really be playing anything but maybe just Pokemon on the Switch, P-Cross on the Switch, stuff like that. After I'm done with Tunic, I don't know what I'll play next. I'll probably continue to line up a couple more short games. I know, I think I said in the last episode I was going to play Power Wash Simulator.
Oh yeah, have you done
No,
that? Have you
but I have
checked it out at
not,
least?
but Jenny's been playing it nonstop, so I may get my fill just by watching her play it. There's a lot of games where, just watching the significant other play games, it's like, well, I've seen basically all of that. It's like Red Dead Redemption 2. I really want to play Red Dead Redemption 2, but I've watched her play like all of it. And it's totally enjoyable experience just watching her play all of it. So it's kind of what I'm seeing with Power Wash Simulator. It's like, okay, I think I've got my fill just by watching you and seeing like basically everything about it.
Yeah.
So no, I don't know if I'll dive into
That's
that. Like I said, I'll probably play a couple more short games. I know I need to get back to Suikoden. I think next up for me would be Suikoden Tactics. But then with Star Ocean coming out, it's like, well, I do need to go back and play like Star Ocean 4. Not
yeah.
sure. It's just like
That's
I just need to develop like a random number generator, like fill out my backlog, and then do a random number generator and just say, okay, whatever it lands on, that's what I'm playing next.
let's see. Landed on 532, and that is, oh, well, I guess I'm going to do another playthrough of Fugitive
No, I
Hunter.
mean I would just do whatever I was on my backlog.
Oh, okay, so just the like couple thousand
Yeah.
games then. Um, so, but yeah, I maybe after I finish Triangle Strategy, I might dive into Stranger Paradise.
Oh yeah, I
I'm
remember you talking about that
I'm
last week.
definitely
Have you played any of that since
uh,
last week?
I
No.
have not. Pretty much, I doubled down on Miles Morales to get that
Yeah,
done
quick
because
game, get that knocked out.
I don't
More
know
enjoyable.
if over the years, I don't know if you have quite caught on to this, but it is kind of a rarity that I start a game and I
Yeah.
finish a game. So um, I don't know if you caught on to that or not, but
Yeah, we're the
so
opposite ends of the spectrum. You start games, never finish them. I start games and finish them 4 times.
yeah, that's we're a good duo. Um, so I've been kind of with some of the stuff that I've learned about Stranger Paradise with the game. Like it's a much shorter game, so that might be a decent game to dive into. But I have also been kind of thinking that maybe I do need to start going back and actually wrapping up some titles. And it popped into my head that I also did not finish Yakuza Like a Dragon, and that is probably one of my all-time, like it's in my top 10 of games. It is such a phenomenal game, but I kind of got myself caught in between. Like I was trying to finish the PS4 version before the PS5 version came out, and I didn't quite do that. And then I learned that the save files don't carry over, and I think they may have addressed that. They may have solved that. But then the talk of like the trophies don't carry over. So then I was like, well, I really like if I start the game over, I'm going to be getting the
How
same
much
trophies,
time
but
have you put
then
into
like
it?
I'm gonna probably put if I was to guess, I've probably put 30 or
Okay,
40
that's
hours
not.
into
I
it.
thought it was longer than that.
It might be. It might be
I
longer than that. I
thought it was like a
remember.
long, long game.
I mean, it's a pretty beefy game, especially as far as like
Yeah.
going a
Yeah, main
completionist run.
story, it's like 45 hours. So even if you're just doing main story, you're still got like a third of the game left. And yeah, if you're going completionist, you got 100 hours.
Yeah,
I was going to say,
yeah,
I remember you talking about like you got super far. Like I would just complete the version you played.
yeah, and because like it is such a phenomenal game. Like it is like I cannot talk about that game enough. Like a Dragon is it was my 2020, yeah, 2020. Holy crap, I've gone way too long
Did it
without
really
finishing that
come
game.
out 2 years
Um,
ago?
it was December 2020
Okay,
when it
that's
came
right.
out. Um,
It was late.
so, but like it has, like it is from as far as the gameplay goes, like it is very much how a modern turn-based JRPG can handle. Like it is such a phenomenal game that I really wish like Square Enix, I hope is like took notes or is paying attention because like a dragon, you have a four-person team they all have different classes and skills and like all kinds of stuff. Like it has a customization thing into it. It has a crafting system into it. It has a business simulation mini game in it. It has uh, a Mario Kart-esque kart racer that's in the game. Like there's so much in this. Like I feel like it is a great template for a modern JRPG that is still a turn-based combat system and have it done well.
Now, if only there were
So yeah,
some
like
hooks it could get to make people want to finish it.
yeah, well, I mean that's for something that started out as an April Fool's joke. I think it's doing pretty well. I would like I don't you haven't checked it out or played it yet, have
No,
you?
that's I think during
Okay.
maybe it was even before Black Friday. I did pick it up. I think I picked up the Steelbook and then also got the unique Best Buy Steelbook. So I got 2 Steelbooks in the mail whenever that came. But no, I still haven't played it.
Yeah. Um, I mean, it is a phenomenal game. I spent so much time. I don't know how much time I spent on the business simulator because, like, at some point in the game, you end up getting access to your own cookie company, and just you're part of you're Yakuza and you got a cookie
Yeah, I
company.
mean you got
Um,
to have
but
fronts.
Yeah, so but you get this cookie company, and then like all of the characters in the game become like potential employees of this company, and all of them have different pros and cons, and they do well in certain areas, and they're bad in certain areas, um, and so you're trying to get the best three-person people to run these various different businesses that you start taking over, and uh, it's a great way to kind of cheese the game because if you focus on the business management simulator thing, it is a very easy way to make lots of money that then allows you to then just buy whatever you need, any resources you need, craft whatever you need, because you've got all the money. You're super rich. So it's a really I mean, you have to put a lot of time into it to get to that point where you've got all that money. But once you've got the money, the game starts becoming super easy because you can always get all of the best equipment. Um, Plus, you've got access to summons and all kinds
I'd
of
be
things.
curious to
But
see if that does
um,
make the game easier in the end. I know there was, I guess, some stumbling block, some like real ramp up in difficulty towards the end of the game. I remember a lot of people discussing with that game. I wonder if that would
yeah,
subvert that, if
the
that makes that like boss fight, that challenge easier.
and I know there's a special like 100 tower or 100 floor tower uh, dungeon or something that you can do that is completely optional, but in order to get some of the trophies, you have to go through that
Sure.
dungeon. So I'm curious to see so I may push Stranger of Paradise a little bit further out to make room for finally wrapping up uh, Like a Dragon, at least the PS4 version. Um, and I don't know, maybe toss in God of War and Uncharted 4 as well. Lots of games I need to wrap up. Yeah, got some pretty good conversations in there. Um, but I am Jeff from Just One More Level,
This was John from
and
MyBurnOnGames.com.
and we will be back with another episode 4, right around the corner, of hopefully some completed games to talk about. So we will see you, or you will hear from us then.
Bye bye.